Hello, welcome to Inside Politics. I'm Anastasia Lavrina. Germany, Europe's largest economy and typically a pillar of stability, is facing snap elections next year after Chancellor Olaf Scholz lost a vote of confidence following his government's collapse in November. With the coalition having been unstable for months and alongside ongoing political crisis and economic turmoil, both Germany and France find themselves at critical junctures. What are the broader geopolitical implications of this instability in Europe's two largest economies, and how might it affect the EU's future direction of the global stage? More details in my program right now. Joining me is Fredbert Flüger, Clean Energy Forum Germany, former Deputy Minister and member of German Parliament. At the same time, from the United Kingdom, we have Klaus Jürgens, political analyst and communication strategist, Economic First Limited, London. Dear experts, warm welcome to our program. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Flüger, my first question to you. What does the collapse of Chancellor Scholz's government reveal about the political stability in your country?
Country is stable. This is a normal process. I mean, it has happened only 5 times in the history of the Federal Republic of Germany. Every 10 years, one time. I think we don't have to worry. Everything here is the main parties make clear that they don't want polarization. So we will have elections soon in February, and then we will have a new government. There is no reason at all to worry about the political stability in Germany. What is a point to worry about is the status of our army. Germany, which was the locomotive in Europe, bringing forward, growing forward new technological solutions, is now in a bad shape. And that is because of these 3 years of this government, which was not united, which of course was confronted with a war, with high energy prices as a result of that war, and as a result of major mistakes that have been made. So I'm not worried about the political situation in the country, but the economic situation is worse than ever since World War II.
Mr. Jürgens, I know that you have a good knowledge about the situation in Germany as well. So do you think that there is nothing to worry about?
Well, it's a good point. My esteemed colleague here just said, basically Germany is fine, and up to a certain extent I would agree. It is a term we say, wehrhafte Demokratie. Democracy has to defend itself against threats, and German democracy for sure over the decades has learned how to do that very successfully. But the economy worries me indeed. Why does it worry me? Now, even if commentators only this morning in UK said it is a slow but painful decline in Germany, but nothing sensational as of yet, fair enough. But how does this impact the ordinary voter? And when we mention France a little bit later on, or the Reform Party in the UK, when governments fight amongst each other, and when there are perhaps the macroeconomic policy still looks reasonably well, but if the purchasing power of the ordinary citizen doesn't match far-right tendencies, perhaps even far-left tendencies, might win at the ballot box simply to say we issue a ticket, so to speak. We can't afford our electricity bills anymore. We can't go on holiday anymore. There are many people who are really worried about the state of the economy. But in principle, I would agree with our esteemed guest here that German democracy is stable. And when there is a vote of no confidence, life goes on. It is a process enshrined in law. And yes, it has happened. And there will be a new stable government coming out of it.
But there is very interesting observation. So, Mr. Flügger, what we see today in Germany recently happened in France. Economic implications, which is not so much good for the economy of two countries. Therefore, do you see any connections in between what we see today in France and in Germany?
It's two different countries.
But
friends,
two most important economic in the European Union.
Yeah, I will say the whole of Europe is not in the best shape. We had a lot of leadership in the time of Angela Merkel. When someone in Azerbaijan or in the United States or in China wanted the opinion of how things are in Europe, they called Mrs. Merkel. She was a lady which brought a lot of stability, 16 years in power, middle of the road, and she was a beacon of stability and of reliability for others. That is lacking in the moment. There is no leadership, neither in the UK, nor in France, nor in Germany, nor in the other countries, and unfortunately also not in the European Commission. So the continent is more lacks political leadership. There is a vacuum of leadership, and I think that the world is feeling that in the moment when Mr. Trump is knocking at the doors and is soon to reach office, and then there is a Europe which is not united, not strong. That's not good news.
Talking more, Mr. Flügger, one more question to you about the situation in Germany and United States of America. Chancellor Olaf Scholz has said he hopes to meet the incoming US president before Germans vote in February. What specific expectations does Germany has from the incoming US presidents?
Well, the thing is, we don't know what will happen. And probably people in the United States, and perhaps even not Mr. Trump, doesn't know either. What will he do on Ukraine? What will he really do apart from threats to the world economy, to free trade? We are not sure yet. So I think we have to wait. It's clear that there will be a voice from America which says America first. We are only interesting for him anymore if we are strong, if we have something to offer. And the question is, what does Europe has to offer in this situation of quite economicness, of a lot of political instabilities in various European countries? So it's not an impressive picture that we give as Europeans, including the United Kingdom in the moment. And I do hope very much that after the election in Germany, with a new chancellor coming in, probably Friedrich Merz. He speaks English, he was in the European Parliament, he is internationally experienced, so perhaps he has a new chance of winning back authority that my government had in the last decades normally.
Mr. Klaus, Germany, under its Social Democrat Chancellor Olaf Scholz, has been the biggest EU donor for aid to Ukraine. The situation may change under a new government. How do you think it may affect the cooperation in between the United Kingdom and Germany when it comes to the situation between Russia and Ukraine?
Well, to your first point, yes, the new government, of course, a new chancellor most likely will change course as much as he is allowed to. This is political coloring. Now, it was mentioned Angela Merkel and stability. If I may only make one comment on this one. Indeed, I think what is lacking in far too many European countries, at least the ones I know reasonably to very well, is political leadership, as Flüger said. I'm looking for people with charisma, and in particular in a crisis, you need to be a good leader. I don't want to talk about party politics, but I recently gave a presentation about leadership in crisis and conflicts. And I went back to the year 1962 and Hamburg and Helmut Schmidt, who basically single-handedly took care of one of the biggest floods ever. Later on, he became the chancellor because people trusted him. If you can handle a catastrophic flood in Hamburg, you can run our country. Now, as I've said, not party politics, but sometimes I miss people with charisma, leadership, who actually roll up their sleeves and say, look, even if the measures are not perhaps easy to sell to the electorate, it has to be done. And this means honesty in politics. And I think the more dishonesty we have in politics, again, the point I'm banging on quite a bit recently, far-right movements, left and right, might actually step into the vacuum and say, we show you this. Now, how will this, different point, Ukraine, yes. If I'm not entirely mistaken, I think the public wants to see an end to the Ukraine situation. The public does not want to finance without end for years, God forbid, 5 years, longer, this war situation, and ultimately wants to see that diplomacy and negotiations somehow bring an end.
I'm sorry, let me confirm. Saying about public, you mean the public in the United Kingdom, in Europe, in Germany, where exactly?
Yes, I would say, I would even add Austria recently. Yes, unwavering support, of course, for Ukraine, but unwavering not in a sense of that we have to finance it forever, because it might not lead to an easy solution if the war continues, and if more weapons are sent to Ukraine, and if Russia retaliates. It will go on and on and on, and innocent people will lose their lives. There has to be an end to this war situation. And with the economic crisis, there is a certain sentiment, how far should our countries actually get involved in it? Some even would say, this is none of our business, which I do not agree at all. Then Germany is very peculiar. A former chancellor famously said there will never be a world without Russia. So you have to come to terms with it as well, that you can't just erase Russia from the soil of the earth and then hope that the situation in Ukraine will take care of it by itself. It is not that easy. It will never happen. Now we have Syria coming on top of it. So Russia has quite a lot of thinking, of homework to do. Where does it position itself in this wider world? And would it not be the best for Russia as well when the situation in Ukraine comes to an end as quickly as possible? Diplomacy must be the way. But yes, I speak quite a lot with people, the so-called people on the street or in meetings or off-the-record meetings, and I hear more often that something has to be done quickly, in particular when there is the threat of an economic crisis.
That's very interesting, especially because just recently United Kingdom announced a special financial package to be allocated to Syria, $63 million, if I'm not mistaken, to support the transition there and support the civilians who were mostly affected by the war. That's very interesting how exactly the countries will behave in the recent months, whether Ukraine will be top priority among top priorities for Western allies, or they will change their approach to the situation, mostly concentrating on the situation in the Middle East. Mr. Flüger, what do you think about these particular issues? How these tensions may, let's say, economic tensions, of course, will affect the future partnership relations between Germany and the United Kingdom, for example?
Well, I think in London and in Berlin, the leaders of all parties know how important we are for each other. And, well, I don't see that there is a general feeling of of a situation where we get more and more into difficulties with each other. No, that's not the case. But it's a big difference if you understand you don't want to conflict with somebody else, or whether you're able to act and put something on the table. And we have to admit in Europe, we cannot defend ourselves without the United States. We are economically still strong. And for instance, in my country, we have this backbone of family enterprises, which are very flexible, which are still in many cases in a very good shape. So we should not say, well, everything is going bad in Europe. Not at all. But we are not living up to the potential that we have and to the expectations of others.
Mr. Flügger, I'm sorry, but do you agree that any economic changes or any approach in its defense policy, let's say by Germany or the United Kingdom, will definitely have its implication to NATO from the global, broad perspectives?
Well, that's a question to Mr. Trump. In our case, we do our homework. I think most of the European countries also do their homework. That is the 2% that we have pledged for defense. And we have done, as you quite rightly pointed out, as Germans, after the United States, we have had the strongest, the biggest burden with this war. And also in Syria, we have millions of refugees from that area in our country, also that burden to many. That has all been taken care of. It was possible to integrate many of them, but many people, as Klaus just quite rightly said, say, well, now it should be in a way enough. We need peace now, we want peace now, and people are more and more looking for solutions in that direction and don't want a further escalation. I think Klaus is very right on that.
Mr. Flügger, can we agree on that economy and migration issues will prevail, let's say, will play a central role in the elections which will take place in Germany in the next year?
Absolutely. It's the two central questions. It's migration and it is the status of the economy. And that is in the core of people's mind. And Mr. Merz, as far as I can see, is very well prepared on both of these subjects and is the clear leader in all the polls. We know how volatile the electorate is in these days, but he is the clear front runner in Germany.
Mr. Jürgens, a bit more about defense cooperation between two countries. If I'm not mistaken, German and British defense ministers signed a long-awaited agreement on closer military cooperation in October 2024. We may say that Europe's two biggest spenders on defense express their commitment to develop new weapons. So how could Germany's economic difficulties impact on its commitment to closer military cooperation with the UK and not only?
Well, there are two facets to your question, Anastasia. Of course, the defense industry is a huge economic player, and investment into the defense industry creates or keeps jobs. So that is one aspect I want to mention. At the same time, Sir Starmer only recently announced he wants to do better. He is promising 2.5% for spending the direction of NATO. No one really knows where does he take the money from. We have lots of debates going on. Over 20 billion black holes apparently, and the opposition says it doesn't exist, Labour says it does exist. There's a lot of infighting, which again brings me back to what Herr Flügger said, where's the leadership? That's a good point. Now, I think the defense cooperation between Britain and Germany underlines one thing. Britain is still part of Europe. It is not in the European Union.
But still, it's a part of NATO.
It is still, and it's a part of NATO. And this underlines how important bilateral relations between two countries can be, despite turmoil around the world. And one thing we haven't yet touched upon, I'm pretty much sure we're running out of time shortly, what is going to happen in Paris? What is going to happen with France? Where is the leadership there? What are the policy-making issues? Where is the roadmap for France in 5 or 10 years? It is lacking. So if we talk about Britain and Germany, yes, of course, maybe there can be a new impetus, London and Berlin cooperating ever more closer, but we can't and we should not sideline Paris at the same moment. Someone must tell them, look, you have to do your homework and come back to actually doing normal policies instead of infighting and backstabbing and what have you. So we should not overlook France.
No, of course. That's what one of the questions which I addressed since the beginning. The situation is somehow similar in between of Germany and France. Of course, the situation in Germany is more stable than we have seen in France within the last couple of months. A new prime minister appointed by President Macron, but still there are the strikes on the street. People are dissatisfied with economic development, and there are some difficulties in the French diplomacy and its foreign policy. And I do remember when we saw it in the beginning in France, the first question that came to my mind, how it will affect Germany and German economy, because there is a close ties between two countries. And again, Germany and France are two biggest economic in Europe. Therefore, talking about Germany, we cannot exclude France at the same time. And that's a very good point that you brought. And I would love you to speak a bit more about the implications for French economy and the future expectations.
Well, I think the French people have their expectations and they should actually answer this question. But I do have family relations and in the past to France as well. So it's not a foreign territory for me. Now, reading between the lines, what annoys the French public is the mishandling of the mishandling of day-to-day politics by the Paris political elites. And they are regarded as living in a bubble, with no contact to the ordinary citizen whatsoever, and no one knows how long this can actually continue. But it is the economy. As one advisor to the Democratic Party once famously said, it's the economy, stupid. Yes, if I come back to the point I made before, even if you say an economy is only in decline by 0.1%, keyword United Kingdom, fair enough. But if the average citizen sees it differently, because maybe higher taxation, the cutting of winter fuel payments, school VAT, day-to-day living costs skyrocketing, we have two totally opposed sides of the same coin. On the one hand, I fully agree, our economies are not disappearing. They will still be there, little ups and downs, but hopefully recession soon over. But at the same time, how does this impact the ordinary citizen, the men and women on the street? If there's no tangible benefit, well, this looks very bad, and this is exactly what's happening in France. Now, leave Paris, go to the countryside, talk to the farming community. Same like the farming community in Britain, often neglected, but people forget without farmers we can't eat anything unless we eat chemical packages full of substances. So those people see it totally different. They want to have support from the government. They want to stay in business. They don't want to have any genetically modified stuff replacing their good and solid produce. It is only one aspect of the economy, but farming is so vital. Then my esteemed colleague mentioned the German system of the family business. Absolutely. It's the backbone of the economy. If you have a strong middle class, you can almost iron out the ups and downs in the wider economy. But if the middle classes suffer, they might pose risky questions and say, what do our elites actually do for us? Can they not do better? And France is a good case in point, yes, but we have to leave Paris. You really have to go to the countryside. You go to Bordeaux, you go to the south, you go even to Alsace, close to Germany. And you might see a different picture.
Well, and my last question to both of you. Germany's snap elections will definitely next year reshape Europe's political landscape, and we had a chance to talk more in details on how it will affect the relations in between of European countries and a member of European Union. But when it comes to the partnering countries of Germany, France, let's say, those who are not part of the European Union, let's come to our region, Azerbaijan, for example. Azerbaijan and Germany has quite stable economic partnership, and in different kind of direction. German companies are actively presented in Azerbaijani market. So should we expect any changes in these particular directions? Mr. Flügger, please.
No, I doubt that. I think Mr. Scholz, with all the criticism you can have against him, has been positive to the basically energy partnership. When President Aliyev visited Germany in, I think, March 23, he made very clear, Mr. Scholz made very clear that Azerbaijan is a close partner when it comes to oil and gas, but also in the future when it comes to hydrogen, e-fuels, synthetic methane, and so on. And Mr. Merz will pursue the same policies. Perhaps even stronger, because the necessity of conventional energy supply is perhaps even stronger within the CDU, rooted within the CDU than with a government where the Greens play a certain role. So I believe we will have good relations, continuously good relations. Also, when it comes to the peace process with Armenia, the former government played, as far as I understand, a constructive role, and also that will not vanish.
Very interesting. Mr. Jürgens, your opinion on this issue?
Yes, fully agree. I would like to add the wider region, talking about the Southern Caucasus. I think, yes, peace is basically on the doorstep between Armenia and Azerbaijan. I really hope all the remaining issues will be ironed out swiftly and smoothly. At the same time, there are other countries we have to consider. Think about Georgia. I know from the Austrian side, for example, that Detroit missions usually approach Georgia and Azerbaijan jointly in order to open up new markets for Austrian investors. And this could then be done vice versa for the two countries involved as well. Now, Austria is a small country, but I don't belittle it. It's a wonderful country. And at the same time, Germany is the big neighbor. And close relations between Azerbaijan and Germany, I think, will set an example that once the peace is there, it will stay for good. And I have to come back 10 seconds one more time. The economy will make it happen. If, as Flügger said, it's about energy, consumption, production, yes. At the same time, there will be new investment coming into the region. New investment creates jobs. Jobs create stability. Stability creates prosperity. And there will be no more civil war or other war, because people simply have the roof over their head and a good life. And I think Germany can do a lot in this regard. Close relations are wonderful. Of course, Minister Baerbock came to COP29 and stayed longer than originally planned and had many bilateral meetings. So does the foreign policy making dimension. But yes, why not focus on clean, green energy initially and see how far we can get away from fossil fuels, how far we should go away. And I'm sure Azerbaijan has a point about this.
Well, that's very interesting. Despite the fact all of those difficulties, economic and political shapes inside the Europe, you both predict more development of cooperation in between of the European powers, European countries, and the countries from our region, South Caucasus. I'm sure we will come back to this issue in the upcoming editions. But now, dear experts, unfortunately, we are running out of time. Therefore, I thank you both for joining Inside Politics today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, dear viewers, for watching Inside Politics. Do stay with us and see you in the next edition.